Welcome to Sound Check with Pastor Isaac. This is episode number 174. And today we're talking about Let's Cruise. We're excited about cruising because cruising is so fun. It's great to ride on the ships, and it's good to have all the delicious food and have somebody come by and just slap that napkin on your lap and give you that beautiful menu. You go into all these islands with so many wonderful things to look at. Cruising is fun, and cruising through life is fun too. We just see so many wonderful things, and we enjoy the cuisine that we have, and we enjoy our family and friends and all those that we are around. But sometimes when you're cruising through life, there's some episodes that actually happen to you, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be looking at episode 174, Let's Cruise. This is a great time for you to let somebody know that Sound Check is on. Let them know that they can also share it with their friends. If they like it, hit like. If you want to love it, hit love, or just leave a comment, and I'd love to read that after you put it in there. And so episode 174, Let's Cruise. Today we're talking about Hagar. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we did a message at the church, and that lesson was centered around Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar, and also Ishmael, her son. We want to focus in on Hagar today on our lesson. Maybe in the next couple of weeks, I'll show you parts of that particular program that we did at the church. But right now, we're going to really focus in on Hagar. Now, what does the word Hagar mean, or what does her name mean? Hagar means to flee or to run away. When we come up against things in our lives, when things come up against us, as you're cruising through life and you get hit with this news that you don't want to hear, what do? Do you just abandon ship? Do you jump ship, get off? No, you can't. You can't get off right in the middle of life. Life continues to move on. Life continues to flow through that ocean, to flow through those seas, or wherever your ship is going, wherever your life is going, life is continuing to move. And life doesn't stop to wait for you. And so we can't jump off. We can't get off of life. We can't jump into a lifeboat and be rescued like that. And so sometimes it's not easy, but we have to go through, and we can't just say, well, I'm not going to cruise anymore. I'm not going to keep moving forward and living. I have to do something. And what is that thing that we have to do? We have to seek and trust God. Now, this is something that Hagar had to do. And if you realize this, Hagar was a servant. She was somebody that was serving under Sarai, who her name became Sarah. She was Sarah's servant. And so Sarah was the mistress. She was the one that was in charge of Hagar. And you'll notice these things in Genesis chapter 12, verse 16. You'll see about her becoming part of Abraham's property. It says, and for her sake, he dealt well with Abram. And he had sheep, oxen, male donkeys, male servants, female donkeys, and camels. And so all of these things were given to Abram at the time. His name was Abram. God changed it to Abraham later on. These things were given to Abram because Pharaoh was so pleased with Sarah that he gave all these gifts to Abram, who was her brother, but at the same time, he was her husband. That's a whole nother story. Maybe perhaps we'll tell that story at another time. But these things, this whole wealth transfer was given over to Abram or Abraham. And so that's where Hagar came from. She was from Egypt. It says that she was an Egyptian servant. And so that's how she got into the household of Abraham and Sarah in the first place. Fast forwarding to chapter 16, let's check out what happened with them. Now, she was the servant, but something deeper happened than that. So Sarah and Hagar must have had a great relationship, because Sarah offered her to her husband because she wanted her husband to have the whole gift that he wanted. He wanted a son. Abraham could not wait to have a son because God had promised him a son. When he was 75 years old, God had told him that he would have a son. Now, this hadn't happened yet. 11 years had passed by. Now, Abram began to say, I want a son. I really want a son. And Sarah could not give him one because her womb was closed at the time. She had not been able to produce a son for Abraham. And so she was frustrated. Abraham probably was frustrated. And so she said, I know. I'm going to let my servant Hagar come into you, or you can go into her, and we'll have a child through her. She'll be the surrogate mother. And I'm sure she probably talked to Hagar about it, and Hagar probably agreed. And so they said, okay, that's what we'll do. Let's see what happened. Look in Genesis chapter 16. We're going to take a look at verse 4. And he went in to Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, she looked with contempt on her mistress. What in the world has just happened? So now Hagar is now having relations with Abram, and she's feeling like, oh, I'm the wife now. So now she's feeling like she's better than Sarah because she's began to feel like I'm the one that he's coming into. I'm the one that he's having a relationship with. I'm more important than her. And you know what Sarah did? Sarah went right to Abraham and she talked to him. In fact, let's look at that verse. Verse number 5. Sarai said to Abram, may the wrong done to me be on you. I gave my servant to your embrace, and when she saw that she had conceived, she looked on me with contempt. May the Lord judge between you and me. But Abram said to Sarah, behold, your servant is in your power. Do to her as you please. Then Sarah dealt harshly with her, and she fled from her. The word Hagar means to flee or to run away. It says that she fled from her. And so Abraham was not going to handle this. He said, this is your servant. You take care of that. And so she dealt so harshly with Hagar, Hagar ran away. And so as we're cruising through life, when things come up, you're on your job, everything's working out really well. Your relationship with your family and friend is working real good, that all of a sudden this big emergency happens. What do? She ran away. She wasn't going to deal with that. She didn't know how to deal with that. And so she ran away. Let's see what happened after that. Verse 7. The angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, the spring on the way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from and where are you going? She said, I am fleeing from my mistress Sarai. The angel of the Lord said to her, return to your mistress and submit to her. So the angel told her, look, you're going to have to go back. You're going to have to deal with this thing. You're going to have to learn how to put yourself under and learn how to submit. You're going to have to learn how to deal with the life situations that are happening. You can't run away from everything that happens. God is not going to be able to rescue you from everything. You are going to have to go through some things, but know this, you're not by yourself. God is with you. God will not leave you by yourself. Let's continue to see what the angel talked about. Verse 10, the angel of the Lord also said to her, I will surely multiply your offspring so that they cannot be numbered for multitude. And the angel of the Lord said to her, behold, you are pregnant and shall bear a son. You shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has listened to your affliction. And so God heard her. He heard her when she cried out. God had already known that she was somebody that was from Egypt, but because she was in the Abraham household, guess what? God said that everybody in his household was going to be blessed. All the offspring that Abraham was going to have would be blessed. And so why not start with Hagar? Hagar was around them. Of course, she was learning of all the Egyptian gods, and she was familiar with that. But now she was around the true and the living God. And so Abram had already shown her what it is to worship the true and living God. And so she had a relationship to be able to call out, and God heard her. In fact, he sent the angel of the Lord to her to speak to her. And it goes on and tells how the baby was born. Now let's move on and see what else happened. Now, as you're cruising through life, going from place to place, as you get to these different ports, different situations happen. Let's see what happened in the next time that we see this. In chapter 21, let's check that out. In verse 1, the Lord visited Sarah, as he had said, and the Lord did to Sarah as he had promised. And Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the time of which God had spoken to him. Abram called the name of his son, whom Sarah born him, Isaac. And so we see that the promise did come to pass where Isaac was born. Now, this is the whole thing. Abraham circumcised him as he was 8 days old, just like the covenant told him to do. But he also gave him a special celebration when he was weaned from Sarah. Now, the whole problem was that Ishmael, the older brother, he began to tease this whole situation. He teased Isaac and he was laughing, and guess who saw him? Sarah saw this occur, and she was like, that's it. Something has to be done. Let's check that out. Let's look down at a particular verse. Let's look at verse 10. So she said to Abraham, Cast out this slave woman with her son, for the son of this slave woman shall not be heir with my son Isaac. The thing was very displeasing to Abraham on account of his son. But God said to Abraham, be not displeased because of the boy and because of your slave woman. Whatsoever Sarah says to you, do as she tells you, for through Isaac shall your offspring be named. And so God already told Abraham, listen to your wife. Your wife said for you to get rid of them, it's time. And so that's what happened. The very next day, Abraham had them shipped out. He packed them up some water, he packed up some food, and he sent them on their way. Now, she didn't know where she was going. And so they were wandering out in the wilderness, all because her son was teasing. But that probably was the last straw. There was probably so much other tension that was going on between Sarah and Hagar and Ishmael and Isaac. So there were a lot of things going on. So as we're cruising through life, we're going to have ourselves run into a lot of different situations, but how are we going to handle those things? Are we going to handle those things so that they will dissipate and everybody's going to live in peace with everyone? There's a verse that says, live peaceably with all men as much as possible. Or are we going to cause so much disruption and so much hatred and so much tongue wagging and talking about each other that it's going to come to a head and everybody's going to just say, all right, that's it. Something else has to be done. Let's see what happened. Look down at verse number 14. So Abraham rose early in the morning and took bread and skin of water and gave it to Hagar, putting it on her shoulder along with the child, and sent her away. And she departed and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. When the water in the skin was gone, she put the child under one of the bushes. Then she went and sat down opposite him, a good way off, about the distance of a bow shot. For she said, let me not look on the death of the child. And as she sat opposite him, she lifted up her voice and wept. And so God knew that she was crying. God knew because she was crying unto him. God could hear her. She thought her son was dying. They were out of water. They were out there singing the blues. They were in a desperate situation. And so God heard them. Let's see what that next verse said. And God heard the voice of the boy, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, what troubles you, Hagar? Fear not, for God has heard the voice of the boy where he is. And then God came in, he showed her where some water was, and Hagar refreshed her son, and they moved on. God already can hear you. God already knows what you're going through. But when you cry out to God, he will answer you. And so that's what we're looking at today. When you're cruising through life, when you're going through situations in life, every situation isn't going to be in calm seas. Some of those seas are going to be rough. Some of those seas are going to be in desperate times where there's storms going on in your life. You got to know it's not time to abandon ship. It is not time to jump ship. It is time to get on your knees and on your face before God, and he will hear your cry as you cry out to him. God bless you. I hope this lesson blessed you. Hopefully next week and the week after that, I'll play portions of the message so that you can see the entire message. But I really wanted to bring out these points because we weren't able to do that on Sunday because there was not enough time. But you got a chance to hear the rest of the story. When you are fleeing from God, he is not running away from you. He knows exactly where you are, and he is there to keep you and there to watch over you. God bless you. Hope to see you again next time.